Good morning. Welcome everyone to this webinar hosted jointly by Capium and Unison Global. And we will be discussing today about delivering MTD for income tax and how using outsourcing can potentially boost your profits and maybe ease some of the bottlenecks that you're probably currently facing. Please, can you put in the chat where you're joining from, whether you have done any outsourcing yet, or you're thinking about it? I think that'd be really interesting. And yeah, just let us know how your experiences of MTD are going so far. Definitely, it's been a bit of a mixed bag from a software perspective so far. I'm delighted to say I'm joined again by Robert Grant from Unison Globus. How are you, Robert?
Very well, thank you, Nick. Great to be here and looking forward to the next 45 minutes or so when we take you through some of the benefits that we think we can bring you in terms of outsourcing work for MTD IT.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely real food for thought. I think you've got to be able to evaluate your workflows, your pain points, your processes, and maybe this will become more acute after you've survived the first deadline. Because you've got to remember in year 2 and year 3, there's only going to be more clients enrolled in this. So your existing procedures have got to be scalable, and I use the word bulletproof as well, to deal with whatever HMRC throws at you. I just want to give it another moment or two just to see if anyone else is going to join us today. But Robert, how are you finding MTD IT so far? What's your kind of ear on the ground? What kind of vibe are you getting from the rollout?
Yeah, it's increasingly at the front of conversations with customers and also prospective customers who are getting in touch with us to talk specifically about MTD IT and how they might integrate outsourcing into their practices. And as usual, a lot of this comes down to the type of service they're looking to introduce, the pricing points, which are going to be increasingly important as more and more people come into the regime, and actually meeting these deadlines and making sure that clients understand what happens if they don't meet a deadline or if they don't make a final submission. So there's a lot to get through in terms of engaging clients in this process, but more importantly, for accountants and how they're going to deliver over the coming years.
Yeah, definitely. And may I ask, what type of work are they querying you about? Is it the bookkeeping? Is it the submissions? Is it the admin? Or is it all of the above?
Yeah, all of the above, but the focus is on the monthly bookkeeping and getting ahead of the game, in terms of client errors, the sort of data that they are holding at the moment, how you can access that data, because a lot of these affected businesses have never maintained digital records in the past. They don't regard the work of the accountant, frankly, as adding any value to their business, and they were quite happy with the once-a-year contact to finalise their tax position and get the money to HMRC. Now that's sort of flipped onto a more sort of a regular sort of client contact, more regular discussions with accountants, and of course, more regular touch points with HMRC throughout the year. And I think you can see the direction of travel that we might be moving towards maybe a quarterly settling of tax bills based on estimates maybe in years to come. So there's certainly a lot to play for here in terms of getting your clients attuned to what this new regime is really designed to do.
Brilliant. All right. Well, look, I think we should start this presentation in earnest, Robert.
Okay.
I'm going to go switch my camera off so people won't be distracted by me.
So, good morning again, everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar. It's Robert Grant here, Head of Customer Experience at Unison Globus UK, and of course, Nick, who you're all familiar with at Capium. Today, we're going to go through some of the pinch points in delivering MTD for income tax and how you can overcome those by outsourcing. As you would expect, we believe strongly there are great opportunities for accountants to grow, to scale, and to boost profits by outsourcing. And that really comes into play in terms of MTD for income tax. Just a personal anecdote, I've worked in practice for over 30 years, and I used outsourcing successfully to manage peaks of work and deliver backlogs of work. But I've also used outsourcing as a lever to achieve growth and better profitability. And I'll come back to that throughout my presentation today. During the webinar, we'll also share many insights from our customers and prospective customers about their early experience of MTD and how we are supporting them and the types of services that we can offer to support them over the coming months. Just a reminder, we do offer a free trial of our services, so you can try before you buy, and we offer special rates for anyone attending this webinar today. And please use the chat box to provide any anecdotes from your own experience of MTD IT so far. And also, if you have any questions, Nick will manage those as we go along. So today's webinar, just quickly what we're going to cover. I'll run through what we know so far. Again, this is based on sort of anecdotes from our customers thus far. Talk about some of the challenges and risks associated with the MTD that we know about at the moment and that we see looming as deadlines are coming along. I'm also going to take a bit of a deep dive into why traditional delivery models may struggle, and that's particularly around these recurring deadlines that you're going to see 4 or 5 times a year, and also the new penalty regime, which may seem impenetrable to some accountants and probably more importantly, some clients. I'll run through some areas where we can support you through our outsourced services and how those can help you improve profitability. I'll also take you through what to do about building an effective outsourcing strategy. That's from thinking about outsourcing, preparing for outsourcing, and then actually implementing it. I think that's really important, not just for MTD IT, but also if you're thinking about more widely introducing outsourcing to your practice. I'll take you through our fixed price outsourcing options for MTD IT. We've got various levels of service and rates, as you would expect, depending on the number of transactions each month that your affected businesses are involved with. And Nick, you will take the audience through some Capium software solutions. I know it's a recurring theme of MTD IT, getting the software right and how you actually charge for that software when clients are asking the difficult questions about it.
Definitely.
So setting some of the context for today, the most organized accountants will have already segmented their client base, looked at how clients keep records, reviewed workflows, checked their capacity to deliver, communicated regularly with clients on changes to service delivery, and updated their fees and terms. That all sounds fantastic. However, feedback from our customers shows many accountants are already struggling as the 7th of August deadline approaches. And some of the issues that some of our customers are seeing at the moment is signing up clients to MTD can be problematic, especially for clients where new clients where onboarding is needed. And just last week, HMRC said that 2/3 of affected businesses haven't even registered for MTD IT yet. So there's a lot of work for accountants to get through just to get clients ready to start submitting those those first submissions when they're due. And also it's fair to say clients are overwhelmingly negative in their views about the need for new services and the additional fees involved. So there's a lot to get through in terms of preparing your clients for MTD IT. And we know there are already significant peaks of work as the accounting calendar progresses throughout the year. And there are multiple converging deadlines towards the end of 2026 and into 2027. How you deal with those peaks of work is going to be a sort of deal maker or a deal breaker for you in terms of delivering MTD IT. Different models of service delivery and pricing strategies will undoubtedly be needed. Accounting, bookkeeping, client management and client contact are all areas where additional capacity needs to be found and delivered throughout the year. Many affected businesses will be preparing digital records for the first time. They're unfamiliar with accounting software and they will need support. This, of course, in turn involves the additional time and resources for accountants. So taking that all together, to deliver MTD IT successfully, accountants will need to build capacity and possibly develop new roles specifically for client contact and introduce automation of messaging and reminders for clients as deadlines are looming. From our side, we think outsourcing provides a ready-made solution to ensure compliance and boost your profits. And I'll take you through some of our offshore services specifically for MTD IT, designed for sole traders and landlords. And having an off-the-shelf solution will undoubtedly help you introduce this new regime. And also there are many advantages from outsourcing. So think strategically and longer term about how you introduce that to your practice. And there's a chance now to have some real honest conversations with your clients about how you deliver this work, those regular touch points throughout the year, give you an opportunity to introduce new services to your practice and deliver them through outsourcing. I think it's time for me to take a break now and just introduce our first poll. So maybe if you could get the poll ready. The question is, with the 7th of August filing deadline approaching, how prepared is your practice? And you have 4 options there, from fully prepared right through to not even started preparing. So there's a chance maybe, Nick, if you want to put some context to that in terms of your own experiences with some of the Capium customers.
Yeah, definitely. I think, in April, we had a kind of a wave of early adopters who wanted to get the software in place, who wanted to kind of understand what the process was. And that kind of quietened down May, June. But as you can imagine, the last week, it has really ramped up. And I think we are finding a lot of people are, this is lacking understanding of some of the basic principles of making tax digital, such as, how do you record invoices that have VAT in it, right? Yeah. You're only supposed to record the net amount. So questions like that are stumping accountants. I can't see my clients in my ASA account. Do I need to move them to the ASA account? Signing them up for MTD IT. Stuff that I think, because obviously we've been from a software perspective, seems quite obvious to us. I think a lot of accountants are still getting to grips with the very basic principles of MTD IT, what is digital record keeping. Yeah. So what I would really suggest, if people are thinking of using outsourcing or are thinking about MTD IT, is to get the ball rolling today. Are your clients on your ASA account? Are they registered for MTD IT? Do you have a software in place? Yeah. How are you doing your digital record keeping? You really need to start answering these questions ASAP.
Okay, so what's the first poll looking like at the moment?
Well, it kind of slightly concerns me, maybe, or not. Depends on how you want to see this, Robert. Only one's fully prepared. 43% are mostly prepared, but have some work to do. And the rest are, again, around 40%, people haven't started preparing. When there's 2 weeks due to the first deadline, I ask you, if you do have any problems, please don't come to speak to me on the 7th of August, because I am on leave on that day.
Convenient as ever, yeah. I can learn a lot from you, Nick, that's for sure.
I'm very strategic with my annual holidays.
So I mean, that's great feedback. And as the webinar progresses, I'll offer some solutions that maybe can help some of those accountants who are at the number 3 and number 4 in terms of preparedness. Okay, so I'll promise you some feedback on what we know so far. And this is sort of based on feedback from Unison Globus customers, but also my attendance at sort of industry networking events, attending lunch and learn and all that sort of thing about MTD IT. And some of the main messages coming through are, as you would expect, continuous client engagement is essential. And that means encouraging clients to take better care and attention of their record keeping and their data to get them ready for this new regime. And it's fair to say some clients are simply not interested in maintaining digital records at all and cannot see any upside at all from MTD IT. Those guys are going to need a lot of nurturing and a lot of contact. And that will likely mean a four or five-fold increase in the number of direct client contacts needed throughout the year. So to deliver that, you're going to have to identify those clients most at risk of non-compliance and manage them accordingly. So plan for those additional touch points throughout the year. Based on the pilot work, and I've heard consistent feedback on this, as you would expect, the accuracy and completeness of digital records is key. Incomplete data means delays in submitting quarterly information, and of course, down the line, the risk of penalties and fines. And of course, having inaccurate information doesn't really help anyone. It doesn't help the accountant when they're preparing tax advice, and it doesn't help the client who are trying to understand their overall tax position. So the choice of software, effective workflows, and training for accountants and client managers must support the accuracy and completeness of data. We know there are peaks of work already around quarterly VAT returns, company account year ends that are popular, and personal tax work. Those peaks of work are now exacerbated, to say the least. And Nick touched on this on the agent authorization. We know there are delays for new and first-time clients, so that registration process, agent authorization process, is going to need some careful attention, and clients are going to need a lot of support if they haven't done this in the past. We know additional bookkeeping and accountant resources needed. Specifically, that will depend on who maintains the monthly bookkeeping records, who files each quarter. Is client approval needed at each quarter, or are you just looking for that at the final submission? And what level of accuracy are you aiming for, especially in the first few quarterly returns? So a lot of additional resources are going to need to be found, and found pretty quickly. And we know that clients are extremely cost sensitive, and they're very slow to change their behaviours, to say the least. And as I've said previously, some clients are not convinced at all about any benefits that may bring to that this new regime may bring to them at all. And of course, there are challenges and risks that are pretty much embedded in the work of an accountant nowadays. So MTD IT cannot be viewed in isolation in terms of these sorts of challenges. And that's finding the additional resources you need in a tough recruitment market. This is a systemic problem at the moment in the accounting industry. Few people are entering the profession, and there's high demand for qualified candidates and rising expectations on salary in terms of employment. And that cascades its way through every sort of role that you may have in your practice. It will cascade through to bookkeepers, client management responsibilities, and sort of newly qualified accountants. So it's a systemic challenge that you're going to have to rise to over the coming months. We know the workload at month and quarter end is going to increase, and I'll take you through a calendar of a typical MTD IT year and where some of those pinch points are going to emerge. We know there's cost pressures from resourcing, but also from new software and training needed for accountants and, of course, clients. Software rates can be anything from £300 per client, and Nick will take you through some options for that for MTD IT. But with the additional fees that some accountants are looking to introduce, you may be looking at £1,000 plus per client to deliver this work. So that is a real change from that once in a year self-assessment tax return, which may involve a little bit of client contact and maybe a £200, £300, £400 fee for the client at the end of the day. So a real change in mindset around fees and rates is going to be needed to deliver this. And of course, the client engagement in the MTD IT accounting cycle is really important, and it can be challenging. Clients are only interested in their final tax liability, not the recurring work that's needed to comply with this regime. So they're going to need to be a lot of honest conversations with clients about how to deliver that. There are going to be unexpected pinch points throughout the year, especially if clients self-serve. Some clients may be confident in maintaining accounting and bookkeeping software, but there are going to be errors, there are going to be omissions, there's going to be interpretation of data that may never have to be undertaken in the past. So there's going to be more resources needed to have those conversations and to correct any errors or omissions. So as a prerequisite to that, accountants are going to have to clearly define those responsibilities for resolving errors. Is it the client or is it the accountant? If it is the accountant, you're going to have to charge accordingly or build that into your monthly fees for individual clients. And of course, looking ahead, you're going to need a 3-year plan as the thresholds reduced to £30,000 and £20,000, and plan for resources accordingly. Now, I'm going to run through a few examples of why I think traditional models of service delivery may struggle with this new regime. At a recent webinar, we asked accountants how digital records would be maintained for MTD IT. 21% felt clients should do it. They should use the bookkeeping software or use a spreadsheet and bridging software, and accountants would simply file the quarterly returns using their HMRC compliant software. However, 60% were looking to provide full bookkeeping and quarterly filing services using commercial software, and 19% were thinking about using outsourcing bookkeepers or quarterly filing work to help them deliver. Regardless of how that service is delivered, additional services will need to be provided and support will need to be provided to clients deciding to self-serve. That is not a traditional model of service delivery for many accountants. And if you look at the calendar over the next sort of 12 to 18 months, you can see why traditional models may in fact struggle. The first submission deadline is looming, 7th of August. We all know that. We're in the middle of the 5-week window to deliver that work. So you're looking at 5 weeks to close down 3 months worth of bookkeeping and prepare summary data for filing. And then as we move through those quarterly deadlines, you can see where additional sort of work will come into play, especially over the winter months. And I'll take you through those 3 months of November, January and February in my next slide, when other sort of competing and converging deadlines come into play. But you can work your way through the calendar and see that this is not a traditional model, and that MTD IT may mean a sort of a struggle for some accountants to deliver. So if we look at this calendar of doom in a little bit more detail, you can see what's going to have to be delivered over the 3 months between November and February 2027. That's 90 calendar days, 3 months worth of bookkeeping, 2 MTD IT submissions, quarterly VAT returns by the 7th of each month. There are, of course, popular paydays towards the end of the month, so you need to prepare payrolls and final payroll submissions to HMRC. Many limited company clients prefer a 31st of March year end, and that will need to be paid to HMRC and accounts filed at Companies House by the end of December. And we have the outgoing regime with the SATR filing deadline for MTD IT clients on the 31st of January. And of course, we have Christmas and New Year holidays in the middle of all that. So working days, 50 maybe, to deliver all this work. You can see immediately why a traditional model of service delivery may struggle over the winter months that are approaching over November, December and January. And of course, we have a new penalty regime to think about. The outgoing regime, pretty simple, single deadline, a fine a penalty if you miss that 31st of January deadline, an escalator in terms of missing payment deadlines, pretty much well understood and easy to sort of convey to clients in terms of any liabilities under that. What we have under MTD IT is a much more complex penalty regime. And although HMRC has said they will not apply penalty points for late quarterly submissions in the first year of MTD IT, what must happen, of course, is that all quarterly updates will need to be submitted before the final tax return is submitted. So that work is going to have to be completed at some point throughout the year, even if the delay in submission means that no penalty points are attracted. And of course, there will be standard fines and penalties applied to the late final tax return. So there's no escaping fines and penalties if you don't meet that 31st January deadline. And looking ahead, the penalty regime for a missed quarterly update, there's a late submission penalty point, 4 points, £200 penalty, relatively easy to understand. And of course, there's standard fines and penalties applied to late final tax returns. So that's a penalty regime, which is a little bit of a change from a traditional model. But then when we get into a little bit more detail, you try explaining all this to your clients about when points expire, what happens if the 4-point threshold is reached, and how do you remove those penalty points, how points are applied at a taxpayer level. Taxpayers with multi-businesses have single deadlines and penalty points if a deadline is missed. And of course, this is completely separate to MTD for VAT. So A, you're going to have to explain all this to your clients, and B, someone's going to have to keep track of penalty points and when fines and penalties may kick in. No surprises that clients may think it's the accountant's responsibility to do all this. And of course, accountants will say, it's not my responsibility to do that, client. It's up to you to understand when fines and penalties may be attracted. So again, not part of the traditional model, and why that traditional model may struggle in terms of communicating all this to your clients. So that takes us to our second poll, and a chance for me to rest my voice and hand over to Nick and Mimi. So the question is, what do you see as the main MTD IT risks to delivery now and going forwards? And I've picked out 4 areas. There could be many more, of course, but software tech, client management, pricing, or capacity and resourcing. So it's over to you guys to give us some feedback. And Nick, if you've got any observations on some of the comments I've just made, I'd be most welcome.
Yeah, I think it's more about those dates and those crunch points you mentioned, really. I think you've also just, and I mentioned it earlier, but fast forward a year, you know, when more people have been caught in the £30,000 threshold, you know, you're going to have more and more clients who are going to need this requirement or this service that you need to offer. And I think this ties quite nicely into the price points at which you have the opportunity to charge your clients for this service. You know, I'm part of, for my sins, part of a few accountancy forums, and some people are charging from anywhere from £50 up to £250 per quarterly filing, and that's without the bookkeeping or the digital record keeping associated. So accountants really have, if they get the service offering right, a real chance to kind of monetize this service, but also scale it as well. You know, a lot of sole traders or individuals who might have fudged a return themselves on HMRC's website by doing the SA100, you know, are now going to be suddenly like overwhelmed. Oh, I got to do the record keeping. I've got to do 4 quarterly returns. I think it's time, you know, that I speak to an accountant for this. So I think it's, maybe I'm foolishly optimistic. You can maybe correct me. I think this is a great opportunity to kind of stop that race to the bottom where accountants were just trying to constantly undercut each other and online accounting services for cheap self-assessment returns. Now you can go back to doing in-year advice, making sure people are actually thinking about their cash flow, hitting problems when they arise, rather after the tax year is finished. You know, I'm not sure maybe that's what HMRC meant by implementing this. I think it was meant to kind of close the tax gap. But I think the second-hand, I use the word benefit or consequence of it, is I think it's really given a great opportunity to reposition what is income tax and how do accountants service it. So would you agree, Robert? Or
100%. But I think something that's overlooked in all this is, you know, the penalty regime. And I think there's a huge sigh of relief that year one was going to be light touch, no penalty points, big sigh of relief. We can submit, you know, when we can and not worry about it too much. That is not going to help you down the line. You know, the more and more you stack up these delays, you stack up these problems, you stack up information that needs to be, you know, put into accounting software, the more you store up problems for the future. So it's not really a bit of breathing space. It's an opportunity really to get, you know, the house in order and get yourself prepared for when these thresholds reduce. And alongside that, having those conversations with clients about, you know, an honest conversation about fees. By the time the threshold is reduced to £20,000, you could look at a sole trader, you know, using, you know, 5% of their turnover to pay an accountant. I mean, that's unheard of. So yeah, there's a lot of conversations that are going to have to be sort of thought carefully about before you introduce them to your clients?
And I think just to dovetail onto that point is have those conversations. I've spoken to 3 or 4 accountants who are saying they're not going to charge their client base for this additional work. For me, that is a definition of madness. Because you're going to be working 4 times harder. You're going to be expending resources doing this, chasing these clients. And you shouldn't be aware that your competitor is charging for it. Suddenly, these clients will become unprofitable. So I think the worst case scenario you do is say, well, it's competitive out there. I'm not going to charge anything for it. Please don't do that.
Yeah, and we all hear these anecdotes about, the historic clients we've had for years. Don't make any money out of them. Do that tax return once a year. Maybe for a couple of £100. That's not going to happen anymore. So there needs to be an honest conversation with those types of clients and disengage if necessary, because you're going to be finding a drain on your resources that you can apply sort of more profitably, sort of more coherently elsewhere.
Yeah, and remember, the fallback is what I'm actually saying to some of the audience here as a software vendor is, this is not Capium's design. This is not your design as accountants. This has been designed by HMRC, and we're just trying to implement a solution for it. So that should hopefully disarm any pushback you have. Going back to the poll question, what are the main MTD risks to delivery and going forward? The standout is client management.
Yeah, wow. Okay. What's that?
That's close to 60% of respondees. And to be honest, your biggest risk is client management, chasing clients. So you've got to get the process. I use the 3 Ps, the process in place, the people to support those processes, and the price point to make sure it's chargeable.
Yeah, that's good advice, Nick. So I promised some feedback on how we believe outsourcing can support your MTD IT delivery. So this is based on discussions with clients, prospective customers, about how we might, support accountants in terms of the various tasks that need to be undertaken to deliver MTD IT. And what we see as the most effective solution is an integrated approach that clearly defines responsibilities. So just starting from month 1, in terms of the monthly data collection and bookkeeping, updating software, spreadsheets if necessary, can be used with bridging software. That's something that an outsourced bookkeeper can easily undertake and ensure that those workflows are managed effectively. And then sort of working through the calendar year, those quarterly summaries of income and expenses, again, the outsourced bookkeeper can prepare that and provide that to the onshore accountant in a timely and accurate way, and also provide early warning of any issues of those clients that may be at risk of missing a deadline. An outsourced accountant can also update the HMRC compatible software with the basic information on income and expenses, and that will really help around meeting deadlines and ensuring data quality. And then the next step is when that integrated approach comes into play, submitting the quarterly data, checking it's all in order and in line with expectations. That's really the onshore accountant's responsibility. And that gives them a chance to sort of maintain control of submission, but also to have those conversations with the client if things are not looking as good as they should in terms of the quality of data, and also where a client may need support in terms of tax advice or other accounting support and advice as well. In terms of preparing those final MTD IT returns and the outgoing 25-26 SETR, the outsourced accountant can prepare those and manage that peak of work as the 31st of January deadline comes into play. But of course, filing those final returns and that final SETR for the 25-26 year, that responsibility lies firmly with the onshore accountant. And that ensures they have the capacity to deliver the tax advice and other support needed based on the offshore work provided by the offshore accountant. So you can see how this whole MTD IT outsourcing approach will work and how those services will be delivered. as the accounting cycle progresses. Now, we mentioned pricing a few times, and we asked at a previous webinar accountants about how they were setting fees for clients requiring additional MTD IT services and software. And it sort of chimes with your comments, Nick. 20% we're not looking to increase fees at all, which is pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. Around half we're looking to increase by 50%, and around a quarter we're planning to increase fees by up to 100%. And only 1 in 20 we're planning to increase fees by over 100%. But nonetheless, 80% of accountants recognise the need to increase fees, and early engagement with those affected clients is essential, along with a new fee structure to achieve that. 20% not looking to increase fees at all. I would think that's probably changed now that the regime is with us, and I'd be interested to see whether that percentages shift in terms of our next poll. But many accountants positively said outsourcing could help mitigate the impact of any fee increase and allow them to deliver this service just as effectively as in-house. So most accountants are looking to increase fees, but clients are resistant. That pricing is driven by new recurring digital record keeping, the additional resources needed from the accountant side, and the risks of missing deadlines, and of course software costs as well. But there's a big opportunity here for accountants to realise the benefits of investment they've already made in their cloud-based software, their document storage, the transfer of data between the client and the accountant, and of course the access to those records in the clouds, and automation of reminders and messaging with clients as well. So all that tech is already available to accountants, and it's a real chance to put it into play for the benefit of clients, and of course to deliver this service most effectively. Outsourcing itself supports flexible pricing models based on the self-serve, the partial self-serve, and up to full bookkeeping and accountant service. And I'll take you through that in a minute. But this is a real opportunity for our accountants to scale over the next 3 years by embedding outsourcing now as thresholds reduce over the next 2 years. So just a quick poll just on fees. It's always good to update and revisit sort of previous sort of fee increases. Just for the audience, are you looking at no fee increase at all? Are you still in that 20%, up to 50% increase, 51 to 100%, or over 100% increase? It'd be really fascinating to know where accountants feel they are now.
Brilliant, Robert. And I think, I wonder if we did this poll after the 7th of August, would you maybe need another option for a higher percentage increase?
Possibly,
yeah. Whether no fee increase would be ignored completely.
Yeah. Or maybe disengage all these clients immediately. It could be an option for some accountants.
Or retire. But yeah, I think that actually your point just really timed in quite nicely with what I was saying. If you are an individual who is thinking of not charging more, well, 80% of your competitors are, so you really should use that as a boost of confidence to yourself to do that, and maybe you can think about mitigating your price increases by using outsourcing or bookkeeping software that helps with automating some of the mundane processes, or getting your clients to do some of the digital record keeping themselves.
Yeah.
But you will be spending more time on this, and you should get paid for that.
Absolutely. So what are the guys saying now about fee increases?
Well, maybe because more people are doing it at the moment. No one's saying they're not charging, they're leaving the price the same, which is good. Reassuring. Close to 71% of the audience are going to do a 50% increase, or up to 50% increase.
Yeah, got it.
So maybe that roughly goes with the £50-60 a quarter. Which has kind of been banded around a bit. So I think that's reassuring that the audience are actually going to do that.
Excellent. Okay, That's good feedback. So we'll keep updating our records, and we'll make sure that we can support any sort of fee regime that any accountant is looking to introduce. So here are some of the options you have from Unison Globus in terms of the types of service we can offer. We do it from the very basic, monthly bookkeeping effectively. That would be our light service, and for a business with 25 bookkeeping transactions a month, that would start at £10. And then we run through the various levels of service through to preparing quarterly summaries and updating HMRC compatible software, right through to preparing that final return declaration, summary annual accounts if the client wants those, and preparing that final SETR. So we've really got a level of service to suit any fee regime that an accountant wants to bring in. We can chat through that in more detail with anyone who wants to get in touch with us to talk about how this might work for their practice. And then looking more widely around building an effective outsourcing strategy for MTD IT. Well, there's a number of things you can do before you outsource. Things like segmenting your client database and assessing their suitability for outsourcing. And we recognise not every client is suitable for outsourcing, but identify those clients that are in scope and require the most support. It's time to disengage those hard-to-reach clients. Make those tough decisions at an early stage, and don't sort of drift into providing services for nothing. And identify those hitting the threshold in the future over the next 3 years. So have that 3-year plan to introduce outsourcing to your practice. And set clear objectives for the outsourcing work. Is it attracting new clients? Is it simply retaining the clients that you already have? Or is it growing the number of services that you have with your existing clients? So again, look at what you're trying to get out of this outsourcing initiative. Determine those service models and pricing. We've talked a little bit about the MTD IT pricing from Unison Globus, but you need to really understand the level of service that you want to deliver to individual clients before you even get to the pricing. And make sure that when you're preparing for this work, you identify responsibilities with the onshore team and plan those cycle of review meetings with the offshore team accordingly. Check the data security credentials. It sounds simple, but Unison Globus always provides data security certificates at any time of asking, to make sure that you are comfortable with the GDPR arrangements we have, and how that satisfies your own PI arrangements for your practice. And do a proof of concept, pilot outsourcing with a small amount of work. I've mentioned that we offer a free trial. You can use that for any of our services, and just make sure that your processes are robust enough to deliver outsourcing effectively. And then after you outsource, these are really the key building blocks of an effective outsourcing strategy. Share that client data securely. We can use remote login to your servers or secure portals. And also we use sort of data transfer arrangements as well. Things like Dropbox, I'm thinking about there. Update your internal policies to cover outsourced tasks and data access. Again, link that to your PI arrangements as well. Integrate the outsourced accountants with the onshore team, ensuring there's a regular flow of dialogue, regular meetings over video calls, that sort of thing. And involve the offshore team in any training to make sure that everyone's sort of reading from the same page in terms of how you deliver work. Constantly evaluate the quality, accuracy, and turnaround against your in-house benchmark using KPIs. We're happy to share any KPI information that you want to develop, and make sure that that's reviewed on a monthly basis and in face-to-face meetings with senior management. And continuous evaluation of outcomes, particularly as MTD IT returns are submitted. You want to have assurance over the quality of information that's being submitted. And see this as a long-term partnership. It's not just to deliver those sort of peaks of work. Make it part of your practice strategy going forwards to build new clients or deliver better services to your existing client base. And of course, it's not just MTD IT work that you can outsource. There are many other personal tax sort of tasks that you can outsource now. Admin tasks, we've talked about the difficulties of getting some businesses registered with HMRC. Some affected businesses may not even have a UTR number for the individual. So that takes a bit of time to pull that information together. An outsourced accountant can easily do that. Data collection on a monthly, quarterly, or annual basis, you can outsource that work as well, not just for MTD IT, but for the other 80% of your clients that may have SATR filing responsibilities at the moment. Thinking about directors of limited companies, that sort of thing. We can do tax computations, partnership SE 800s and SE 100 preparation as well. And of course, there's prior period returns. Historic expense claims are more and more being advertised as a service by accountants, and we can help with that. And of course, HMRC queries can take a long time to get through the HMRC switchboard. Our offshore accountants can do that for you and let you know the outcome of individual questions that you want to raise with HMRC. I'm going to rest my voice now, Nick. If you want to quickly take the audience through the 3 slides on, Capium's offering around software and service for MTD IT.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. For those of you who don't know, Capium is a cloud-based accountancy software solution for accountants in practice who mainly look after micro or small businesses. We offer a range of products from bookkeeping to tax returns to company secretarial, and of course, very topical, MTD IT. We support a wide range of digital record keeping solutions. So you can use the bridging solution, you can use our bookkeeping product, or you can use our premium product Capium 365, which has bank feeds, invoice receipt scanning, bank rules, loads of automation that can maybe help aid some of the bottlenecks that you may be facing while keeping up to date with these quarterly filings. If you would like a free trial, or if you'd like to book a demo, please scan the QR code here or just send an email to info@capium.com. Thank you for that opportunity, Robert.
Yeah, okay. So just to give it a moment if people want to use the QR codes. But how do you see this developing for sort of those businesses that are maybe £30,000 turnover in the future, £20,000? Accountants might not need the whistles and bells solution that may be on offer at the moment. Do you see software developing to have a much more sort of truncated version that maybe people can self-serve with?
So I think one of the many lessons that are being learned is about options. Knowing what your client can and can't do. Does your client just need a spreadsheet? Can they fill out a spreadsheet and can they email that back to you? Perfect. The bridging solution is what you need. Okay. You just download a template, put in the transactional information and upload that once a quarter. If your client is more capable of using a bookkeeping product, great, get them to do the lifting, or if not, you can do the bookkeeping work for them. So it goes back to maybe one of the conversations or one of the earlier webinars we did, Robert, on MTD IT. It's about segmenting your client base, based on their technical ability, based on what level of reporting and insight they want into their business, and then I suppose based on their own unique requirements, you can then decide on which products for them to use. But I would say our most popular solution for the current cohort is the bridging product. I think that's the one where I think that's the easiest transition for people to make.
Okay, that's good to know. So it's, as always, software is continually evolving, and I'm sure there'll be more and more solutions coming onto market over the next 18 months to 2 years as more and more people are caught by this regime. So thanks, Nick. Just a final question in terms of Unison Globus. If you would like to be contacted by one of our expert advisors, please let us know. Click option 1. Over the next 3 months, we're happy to park you for a little while and then get in touch. Option 2. And of course, if you feel you're not ready to have the conversation about outsourcing, a no thanks option is available to you as well. So I'll just offer some final remarks as you're populating that final question. That there are wider benefits of outsourcing work that I'm sure many of you would want to hear about. We're here to fill resource gaps and help you manage peaks of work, not just MTD IT. We're also happy to help you underpin future growth plans, whether that be expanding the number of services you offer at the moment or increasing the number of clients that you have. We offer access to a pool of talented professionals from our offices in India. We're set up almost exactly the same as any UK accounting practice. We have trainee accountants working towards professional qualifications, right through to very experienced accountants with a range of accounting and tax qualifications. So we really make sure we have the best fit with your needs. That expertise is available whenever you need it. We offer different levels of service, from an hourly service. You can do that on an ad hoc basis, right through to half-time equivalent and full-time equivalent expertise when you need it. We promise you we will reduce your cost base. We're typically 50%, maybe more, less in terms of price than a UK resource, and that all underpins your effective pricing plans going forwards. And we've mentioned a few times throughout this webinar how to make the most of your investment in technology, like cloud-based accounting, automation of reminders and that sort of thing. So you can really use outsourcing to make the most of that investment and sharing data and technology. And of course, we are a professional financial services firm. We promise quality and compliance throughout. And we place data security at the front of mind in everything we do. We are ISO 27001 accredited and fully GDPR compliant. So rest assured, your data is always secure. So that's a thank you from me. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Nick, for your valuable insights today. I'm happy to hand over you for some final remarks.
Brilliant. No, thank you, Robert, for your time as always. What I would recommend the audience doing is seeing outsourcing as one of many tools that are available to their practice to help solve the MTD problem, as well as software, as well as client management, and all the points that we've kind of discussed here today. I don't think there's any questions. I will just kind of reiterate, we're happy to take any questions, based on MTD IT or based on outsourcing or software. So please feel free to put that in the chat. But I have some already made. Robert, if I was an accountant and I was thinking about using outsourcing in my practice from today, how would that look like? Walk me through the initial onboarding steps, if you could.
Yeah, we always start off with a conversation with the client. What are you looking to achieve? What sort of software do you have in place at the moment? We provide assurances that we can deal with any commercial software. We will understand, what the CRM system they have in place, how you would like us to maintain records. If you have your own working papers, we're happy to follow that approach. Or if you would like us to use our working paper arrangements, we'd be happy to do that as well. So sort of the initial conversation is all about just gathering information and understanding the objectives that you're trying to achieve with outsourcing. And then we usually move into the free trial phase. Many clients like us to do a few sets of year-end accounts. We offer usually 10 hours of an accountant's time. Some clients like us to complete bookkeeping or VAT returns for a quarter. We're happy to do that. And increasingly, we're offering some MTD IT testers as well. So we can talk clients through that, deliver the work, and then there's an evaluation stage where the client or customer provides feedback to us on how the whole process is went. And of course, we learn lessons from that. We sometimes find that clients are still developing workflows, and we can offer suggestions to improve those, or if there are opportunities to sort of strengthen some of the basic working papers that clients have in place, then we're happy to do that as well. So the evaluation phase is really important, where we have regard to the feedback from a client. And then we move into the full contract stage. Many customers feel that they only need maybe a few hours bookkeeping or some accounts prepared every month. They just let us know at the start of every week the number of hours they need, and we charge on an hourly basis. That can be for a bookkeeper, an accountant, or a senior accountant, any role really. We will agree an hourly rate for that. Other clients need a half FTE equivalent. That's usually around 70 hours per month of an accountant's time, right through to an FTE equivalent where the onshore accountant simply treats the offshore accountant as part of the team. They direct them, they provide the work whenever it's needed, and they really are part of the onshore team, albeit based offshore. So that is an increasingly effective solution for our customers who need a more longer-term solution to their practice needs. So that's a sort of quick walk through what you can expect when you contact Unison and are looking to outsource work for the first time.
Brilliant, Robert. I think my last takeaway is whatever you do decide to implement and whatever structure that takes, make sure it's future-proof for the next 2-3 years. Okay, I think maybe, this is a guess, roughly 10 to 15% of your self-assessment clients have fallen into the first cohort. Then there'll probably be another 30-40%, then the remainder. So really do make sure that you're putting yourself in the best possible position, that your processes are scalable, because the last thing you want to do is when Q1 comes around, there's deadlines, there's back deadlines, there's accounts to do, you're suddenly overwhelmed. Yeah. Now's a good opportunity to have that trial run, to test your existing procedures. And I think you've already mentioned, Robert, you can have a resource on demand, right? Yeah. So you can maybe put this as a real good backstop or safety net when you know there's going to be pinch points that come around the VAT deadline and the MTD deadline. You go, perfect, I pull this lever, I've got support.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. Start testing this process while you've got time to do it. Don't leave it till the last minute, and then find yourself, struggling with multiple deadlines and finding that you don't have the time to do this. That would be a very difficult position to find yourself in.
Brilliant. And I think there is a special offer at the moment, isn't there, Robert, for those who attend? Could you just may have mentioned already, maybe it's good to just end on that.
Yeah, so from our normal rates, those attending today's webinar, 10% reduction. So we're happy to provide that for the first year of contract on any service that you may commission. And we offer a free trial, as I've said as well. So that's a very sort of effective way of trying this service for the first time, and make sure that it's a good fit for your practice.
Brilliant, Robert. Look, thank you so much for this presentation. I think the next webinar we should do should be a dissection on how Q1 went. May or may not be led by me. I'm still here. But look, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much, audience, for joining this webinar. This webinar is being recorded. So you will get a recording of this email to you. And I think, Robert, you'll be sending the handouts as well to those who have registered for this webinar as well. So that would be great. All right. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Fantastic. Enjoy the rest of your day. Robert, take care, mate. Cheers.
Bye now. Bye.